Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Regular board meeting for the Lammersville Unified School District Board of Education. Tonight's July 20th, 2016. Call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, and at this time, if everyone please silence your cell phones, that'd be appreciated. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Sharon Lampel.
Here.
Shane Nielsen.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Samantha DeTiberis.
Here.
Approval and or correction of the agenda?
There are none. Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Item A, facilities use.
So we had a couple of meetings for the Facilities Use Committee. Most of the notes are there, so there's not really a whole lot to elaborate on, other than I just wanted to add that going into the most recent meeting, we had some concerns that there were going to be a lot of conflicts. I think the software's helped iron a lot of that out. Decentralizing it, putting it on to the schools to allow them to have a little bit of control has helped some of that out. But in the end, we did have some conflicts. And from my perspective, the part that when we started this committee, we were most looking forward to hopefully happening did happen. The parties got together, they all talked, we worked it all out, and everyone realized that there's just not enough space for everybody and we couldn't all get what we wanted. And as far as I know, the basketball teams were all able to work everything out. No, everyone didn't get everything they wanted. It just wasn't possible. But everyone got enough, I think, that they can continue to run their feasible, whether it's athletics or programs or businesses or whatever it was, and the community can continue to use our facilities and help provide funds to help maintain them. So I think overall, the process worked much better this time than it has. A few more bumps to iron out that we can do for the November up for December and January stuff, but I think overall it worked great. Participation was great, and I just want to thank all the members of the community and the staff at the district here and the school sites as well for all the work they did to make this work. And other than that, like I say, everything else was in the report. So,
Okay. Item B, District Advisory Committee, nothing to report. Item C, District English Language Advisory Committee.
Nothing to report. On the district advisory and district English language, I don't believe the next meetings have been scheduled. Is that right? Okay.
Correct. Summertime. Yeah. Item D, Gate Arts Music.
we haven't had a meeting, but I think we're having one scheduled in, I think it was August or maybe September, but haven't had a meeting yet. Wait until after school.
Yeah. Item E, Grant Writing.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Item F, Safety and Crisis Response. There's nothing to report. And item G, Wellness.
Nothing to report.
Governing Board reports. Student Board Member, thank you.
So firstly, I want to apologize for not being at the June board meetings as I was not even in California. I did, however, stay caught up by watching the meetings through the live stream. Since I've gotten back to Mountain House, I have been active with ASB, and I can say that there are some great things being planned for MHHS this upcoming school year as we continue to create the united school environment and establish new traditions. With that being said, I'm excited to be officially starting my second term up here on the board. I learned a lot from my first year and will definitely take that forward with me throughout the course of my second term. Recently, I've been questioned about why I'm here and my intentions here by the community, so I wanted to take a moment to clarify. I chose to run for this position because I believe in this district and I believe in the students of this district. I truly value being here and want to be a better representative for the students. I plan to become more involved in what goes on in not only my own school, but all of the other schools. I want to support the voices of the district students in any way I can. I have created an Instagram account called MHHS Academics, which will serve the purpose of reaching out to students to get their input and keep them updated with what I'm working on.
And if there's anything that we can do to support you, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Trustee Clemens?
Nothing to report.
Trustee Pombo?
I have nothing district or school related to report. My wife and I spent the last 2 weeks on vacation with our 5 kids and 7 grandkids. And while it was a lot of fun, I'm exhausted. It was a bit like herding cats. But in the end, it was a great experience, and nothing on earth compares with spending time with family. That's the end of my non-report.
Trustee Lempo?
I have nothing to report from the school district except that it was an honor to represent the district at the July 4th parade.
Trustee Nielsen?
Aside from the Facilities Use Committee and participating in the 4th of July parade, I didn't have really any district business, but had a few events that I got to participate in as a member of the community. The Shakespeare in the Park event was fantastic. One of our own was the Shrew from Taming of the Shrew, Amber Hill, the daughter of our illustrious cafeteria food services director. Was amazing. She always has been. She was back in 7th and 8th grade when she was at the plays at Wickland, and it was fantastic to watch, and I'm really looking forward to a theater so that the wind and the elements maybe aren't as big of an issue. Not that I'm plugging for anything. And then also I had an opportunity over the weekend, last weekend, to attend the flag football at the high school. And while it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, watching those kids as they walked out onto the field, the little kids who got to practice and run around on the big field, it was a different thing. You could sense it in all of them, that there's a little bit more awe and a little bit more joy. And I'm just really glad we've given the community as much as we can the opportunities for those events to be held at the school, because it was a different thing all together. I think the community enjoyed it, the parents, the kids. I had a great time. Plus I got to run around on the track before, so it was all really great. But I just like seeing their faces as the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds were looking out there feeling like they were big kids out on the big field. So that was my non-board event.
Well, I feel like I've been here more than I'd like and attending a lot of meetings. I actually have nothing to report yet. Receiving a public comment. Hearing none. Consent items for consideration. Item A, consider approval of governing board meeting minutes for the special meeting of June 13th and the regular meeting of June 15th. Item B, budget revisions and warrants. Item C, approval of contracts under $25,000. There is 1. Item D, approval of the 16-17 hires. There are 12. Item E, acceptance of resignations. There are 7. And item F, acceptance of donations. There's 1. Supplies for Mountain House High School English classrooms from Donors Choose, totaling $667.42. We can pull any of the items for discussion, or we can vote as a package.
I'll move for approval of the consent items as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh,
I just had a clarification on the donors. The page shows a lot of big numbers, but the gist of it is the numbers on the far right are the donations for each item that have been gathered, and that's on page 27.
What's the difference? Oh, 27. Oh, it's 28 on here.
Oh,
20.
28, excuse me.
Yeah.
The numbers on the left are what the items would cost in total, and the number to the right is the donations that have been taken in for each item.
I believe so. This was sent over from the high school, and on the bottom it says total project goal 667.42, and that's what we.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what all of these are, but I can get answers another time. Like a 4-foot large fuff.
It's for fuffing.
Okay,
Clearly.
Sure.
I was curious about all of those things too. Good.
But it's black onyx.
So 2 of our English teachers read some research around flexible seating in classrooms. And so they got all excited about it and came to me and were like, we want to go to Donors Choose and put out there that we need some money to buy some flexible seating stuff. And so they put it up on Donors Choose, and in 2 days, they had all the money that they needed. So they went out and purchased it. So a FUF is like
Is that the
probably
ball?
like a beanbag chair or something like that.
Okay.
There's all kinds of different
There's the
flexible
balls that they
seating
sit on,
balls.
yeah.
There's beanbag chairs. There's desks that you stand up at. There's all kinds of that stuff. So that's probably
That's a
all the
fluff.
weird stuff that you're seeing on there.
Called it a foof.
Has to do with the flexible seating that they're doing. Two English classrooms are using that this year, and we're excited to see what goes
Well,
on.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you came up because I'm glad to hear that. Being a
was looking at
back
all this going,
sufferer,
why
it
does
needs to
English
be
class
options.
need-
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So I'd like to take a moment to welcome our new hires. Melina Cooper, speech-language pathologist. Kimberly Glace, self-contained classroom teacher. Kathleen Gladden, information support technician. Patricia Haynes, program specialist. Amy Eisler, registered nurse. Valerie Martin, counselor. Ruben Martinez, a grounds and maintenance worker. Tyrenda Pentecost, high school staff secretary. Julie Phillips, math teacher. Shelley Ryer, I hope I pronounced that one right, coordinator of special education. Jessica Santos, self-contained classroom teacher. And Yuhua Wu, food service worker. Welcome to Lammersville.
Welcome. And if I could, Mr. President, I'd just like to ask for kind of a general consensus on where we're at. I know we've still got a few more weeks before school opens, but staffing level-wise, classroom teacher-wise and stuff, are we at like
I think we're down to
50%, 90%?
6 more positions to fill, and we are in the process of filling those.
District-wide?
And doing some backgrounds checks and stuff, so district-wide.
Okay.
And our teaching numbers should far and exceed 200 teachers, so put that into context.
So to put it in perspective.
That would be 97%.
The district where I work is half the size of Lammersville, and I have the same number of openings. So Lammersville's doing really well.
Good to hear.
And Mr. President, I did want to make a comment on one of the resignations, Erin Quintana. I had the honor of serving on DLAC with her for a couple of years. I really appreciated the energy and vitality that she brought, and I really appreciated the opportunity to work with her, and she'll be missed.
Absolutely.
District Administrative Reports, item A is Superintendent's Report.
We have a guest speaker tonight, but before I call her up, I do want to introduce Ted Miller to the entire board. If you hadn't had a chance to meet him, he has come on as our Director of Human Resources. So he's sitting here in the audience. And we also want to, as the baton passes from Dr. Gill's excellent effort to Ted, thank Dr. Gill for her willingness to take on multiple departments at multiple rates of speed as we grew by hundreds and hundreds of kids and dozens of teachers over a 3 or 4 year, actually a 4-year period now in a constantly evolving district. So thank you, Dr. Gill, for your excellent work, and welcome aboard, Mr. Miller.
I want to add to that. No one outside these walls will know or understand the work that Cush has put into the last few years in this district, taking on those numbers of hats and roles. This board does, this board member does, and it's greatly appreciated. And I do want to welcome you, and by the way, those are fantastic socks. I love those socks. If we had a camera and I could zoom out, I'd zoom on those socks. But anyway, so welcome.
I've never seen anyone learn, not just so quickly, but the in-depth pieces of HR and the systems that Dr. Gill perfected in this district. I learned a lot from you, and I've been doing HR a long time, so thank you. And welcome.
Welcome.
With that said, I'd like to call up Eileen Diepenbrock. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
It's the second vowel in a German-sounding name. That's what I went with, so I'm glad I got it out right. She's here to talk a little bit about an update status in terms of our contract evolutions and our construction project, but our specific topic tonight is lease-back agreements.
Good evening. It's very nice to be here. I am a construction attorney. I've been doing this kind of work for over 30 years in Sacramento, and my primary focus is public works construction projects, representing owners and contractors with a heavy emphasis on school district construction and representing a lot of school districts. So I am here to talk to you about lease-back. I know there's some general familiarity with it. You've done some projects with it, but there's been a lot of questions about the status of lease-back over the last year because of a couple of court cases that have come down. So the bottom line message I will give you tonight is that lease leaseback remains a very useful, viable, and legal tool if done correctly. So a little bit of background. Lease leaseback has been around since the 1950s. It is authorized by the Education Code, Section 17406. It is a legally recognized exception to competitive bidding, meaning you do not have to award to the lowest responsible bidder. And as of this time, the legislature has never required any type of competition for lease leaseback projects. I will let you know that there is legislation underway, and it will go to the Senate floor, I think at the end of this month, and if it takes effect, it will not take effect until January of next year, and it will provide for some level of competition based on a best value process, but it will not be based on low bid if it passes the Senate floor and the governor signs it. But as of this point in time, there's never been a requirement for any type of competition whatsoever, and no court has ever said competition is required. Even in all the published decisions and the couple of ones that have come out in the last year, which question the applicability of it on specific projects, agree that there is no competition required. And there is no legislative restriction on the type of project that can or cannot use lease leaseback. So you can use it for whatever type of project you want, whether you do it district financing, if you have a developer financing, if it's a modernization project, new construction, no restriction on the type of project that can be used with lease leaseback. The data shows that lease leaseback is a very good tool and provides a significant benefit to school districts. It results in more collaborative projects. There is open communication and continuous dialogue and improvement throughout the projects. There are reasonable and reliable budgets, fewer cost overruns, change orders and delays, and high-quality projects still result from that. And there is data that has been collected that supports all of this. The basic features is that a lease leaseback provider is pre-qualified, and then the district enters into a ground lease for a nominal amount with the lease leaseback provider, who then enters into a facilities lease with the district, agreeing to construct certain improvements and lease the project and the property back to the district for specified regular lease payments. Last year, a decision, Davis versus Fresno Unified School District, came out in June, and candidly, I was not surprised by 90% of that decision. The California Supreme Court has long said that if you're going to use lease leaseback, it cannot be a disguised construction contract. And my colleagues and I prepare contracts for school districts, and we have our contractors negotiate with school districts to avoid the traditional bells and whistles of a disguised construction contract. We just don't think you can ignore the California Supreme Court. And so that was the essence of the Davis versus Fresno Unified School District decision. It focused on the terms of that contract and concluded that the taxpayer who brought that lawsuit had stated a viable claim that those terms constituted a disguised construction contract. The court reiterated that lease leaseback is a legal exception to competitive bidding, provided you do it correctly, meaning no disguised construction contract. And so the particular issues in that contract was that they also found that there was no contractor financing, and that should have been required, that lease payments were tied to progress of completion, and that was the main thing. Lease payments were tied to progress of completion, and that there was no provision for the district to use the facilities during the term of the lease. The lease term ended at completion of construction. That's what we know what happens when you have a construction contract. That's not a lease. The other thing that really candidly came out of the blue to most of us in the industry was addressing pre-construction services. And pre-construction services have long been held to be an important part of a lease-leaseback arrangement. That court in Fresno said that if you have a pre-construction services contract, that would be or could be a conflict of interest in violation of the government code, because the contractor could be considered a district employee by virtue of an extension of the consultant relationship, and therefore would have a financial interest in the ultimate facilities lease, which cannot be signed until the DSA approves the plans and specifications. So you ended up with two contracts, a pre-construction services contract, getting paid for that, and then the second facilities lease. So that has been an issue that, by the way, is being addressed in the legislation to permit affirmatively pre-construction services and permit signing of a single contract before DSA approval, provided that there's no construction that begins. The second case that came out more recently is McGee versus Balfour Beatty. We call it the Torrance Unified School District decision. It came out on April 12th, but it was actually published. It originally was not published, and it was certified for publication in May of this year. It reiterated lease-leaseback is a legal exception to competitive bidding, but it diverged from the Fresno decision in terms of what is required. And it said, nothing more than the fact that the district owns the land to be leased, the contractor is going to provide the project for a guaranteed maximum price, and title will vest in the district at the end of the lease term. And it rejected, this was its language, efforts to engraft additional requirements, such as the timing of the lease payments, the duration of the lease, and the contractor financing. It says the law does not require that. So that piece is then in conflict with the Fresno decision, and it left open the question about pre-construction services being a violation of the government code. So what is a district to do? We have two conflicting decisions. The smart thing in our judgment is to follow the Davis decision, because that is the more conservative one until the Supreme Court weighs in or the legislation is passed. So what happened after the Davis case, many districts actually stopped using lease-leaseback and returned to the traditional design, bid, build, award to the lowest responsible bidder contracts, and they canceled them. And bids came in dramatically higher than the lease-leaseback amounts for those exact projects. And the other thing that happened is that was if you could get bids, because a lot of contractors stopped bidding the projects. They don't like it. They don't like the way it works. They were very happy with the collaborative process. And so there are still plenty of school districts who continue to use leaseback, and the contractors went over to work for them. So it wasn't a good result for the industry. So in our view, again, what to do, we think the best practices are, even though no competition is required, we support complete transparency regarding the selection of your leaseback provider. We think that there should be, at some point along the spectrum, some level of openness, potentially competition, at some point along the spectrum. It's not required, but if you're not going to do that, have a very good reason. It's not just because this person happened to live next door to you. Although it's legal to pick up the phone and call your next door neighbor if you want to do that. We also think there should be total transparency regarding what we call the total lease payment amount, where we use rental terms, lease terms, not GMPs, guaranteed maximum prices. How did that number come to? Let's make sure that the school districts are not getting fleeced. Let's make sure that the contractors are not taking advantage of the districts. Work it out, prove it, potentially hard bid out the trade work. Show us how you came to that number. And very importantly, again, regardless of the Torrance decision, the Supreme Court has said you cannot have a disguised construction contract. So we recommend flat monthly payments. They're not tied to the percentage of completion. Districts should not withhold retention. We do think you should include some element of contractor financing. It's the cautious approach, and contractors are happy to do it. And we also highly recommend a post-construction occupancy phase during the lease term. And we've always, for our contracts, have done that. So the lease term might be hypothetically 24 months, 12 months is the construction phase, 12 months is a post-construction phase. And until the issue of the government code or the legislation passes, we do not think you should be including pre-construction services. It's just too risky. So that's the status. Again, it's a very viable option. It's a very successful delivery method for school districts, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Has the court indicated if they're going to take this up, and if so, when?
The Supreme Court, no word yet. The Supreme Court denied review in the Fresno decision.
Right.
And then in the Torrance decision, I think the time has passed at this point, and I don't know if anyone petitioned for review there.
So we could end up in this nebulous,
Correct.
trying to figure out what the real rule is.
That's right. There is one more decision that we're waiting on, and I don't know when, it's Mount Diablo Unified School District, and I don't
Contra
know.
Costa?
Contra Costa, right, and so we haven't seen that yet.
Because that was the other question is, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think our school district resides in any of the California appellate districts that these are in, right? Fresno's
Correct, the
not
fifth.
ours, and nor is Contra Costa. Because aren't we with Sacramento, and I can't remember.
I'd have to check on that honestly, but
Remember either,
the
so.
Sacramento has not weighed in on it, so we'd have to check on that to see where you are on that. The other thing I do want to be clear about, which is important, is if the legislation passes, it's only going to address the process for awarding the contracts. It's specifically not going to address the terms of the contracts, of the leases. And CASH, the Coalition for Adequate School Housing, came down very hard and said they would oppose any legislation that attempted to tell the school districts what you can and cannot put in your leases. So we continue to steer the very conservative course. Okay. Any other
Mrs.
questions?
Diepenbrock, thank you very much for the succinct presentation. I want to get something on the record because when we talk about, exceptions or that we don't have to use the competitive bid process, I want to make sure that the public understands, why, because you've discussed the fact that the leaseback process provides significant advantages to districts, and that's been proven. Can you speak a little bit to the underlying reasons why contractors are willing to do, like you mentioned, some of them don't even bid in the competitive bid process because they don't want to, they don't want to participate in that, but they'll do the leaseback. Can you provide some color on that?
Sure. The main reason is the more collaborative process, and you're getting, whether there's pre-construction services formally or not, the leaseback provider is getting involved at an earlier stage because they have to work up the price no matter what. So they're going to get the plans and specifications at an earlier stage, and they will provide guidance, and you just start building that rapport and partnerships going along, and they're just happier with it because they're being evaluated in the selection process on their ability to provide the best value, the most successful project to the district, not just driven by who's going to come in with the absolute lowest price and then hope to make it up with the change orders, which is being seen again, unfortunately.
So if I can mirror back to you, then we're saying that the focus shifts from the ability of the contractor to provide the absolute lowest price without true understanding and the ability to value engineer and all that kind of stuff. It shifts from that to a collaborative process where you're selecting the provider that is better, that shows they're better able to value engineer to provide the end product that you want at a lower cost, not by just reducing their cost, but by saying you can get the same value by doing it this way or doing it in this format instead of this, right?
That is a very important part about it. I would add one little caveat to it, which is that the lease act providers are incentivized to take that approach because they're showing why I'm the best person. My actual bottom line may not be the smallest one because I'm not going to have to cut out all my profit to beat out the next guy just to win the contract, but I'm giving you a really good price. My books and records are open, so you're going to see where my numbers are coming from, so I'm not going to play games with you, but I'm going to work with you, and I'm having the chance to show you, based on quality and relationships, why I'm going to give you the best project.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
To add two things, if I could, to that. The first thing is the leaseback also provides, like you talked about, that collaborative process allows for the construction folks to look at the plans that are drawn as best as they can be, and then in a real-world sense say, wait a minute, we need to talk about why this won't work for what it is you want to do, as opposed to when you're in a competitive bid process, they look at the plans, they can ask a few questions, but it's basically, you're going to do what the plans say, or we're going to get a change order, and the cost could just explode because this wasn't anticipated or that wasn't anticipated, and it helps provide that, the collaborative process helps provide for that opportunity. But the other thing I wanted to point to was, as much as we don't have to do a lot of these things, We're going to be discussing a little bit later tonight an action item that talks about what we're going to do to pre-qualify some of these construction folks. And so in the interest of informing the public, it's not like we're going to go in the back, smoke a few cigars, have a beer, and say, we picked Jim because he's going to build it. We're going to be pre-qualifying these folks based on a questionnaire we're getting later. We're going to do our due diligence because we're not just blowing the taxpayers our money.
And that's an excellent point. And in fact, pre-qualification is required on lease-leaseback. And there are some other requirements that I didn't go into that are for the benefit of a lot of people. There's a skilled labor requirement, which has people really figuring out how to make that work. So you're making sure that you have really the best labor on the project. It's absolutely mandated. It's only mandated for school districts in California on design, build, or lease-leaseback. It is not mandated on hard bid projects, the skilled labor issue. Pre-qualification is mandated on most projects in school district projects in California if there's state bond money. And lease-leaseback doesn't matter, or design build, it doesn't matter. Whether you don't have to have state bond money, but you still have to pre-qualify. So, and the pre-qualification is not limited to the primes. It also goes to the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing trades. So you're getting your key subs pre-qualified as well.
You mentioned earlier in the competitive bidding, companies cutting their profit out to underbid others, but most of those companies are very adept at adding their profit back in along the line through change orders and other tricks that they.
That's right.
And I do want to be careful about that. I'm a huge fan of the construction industry, and I really don't want to be accusing contractors of doing anything that would be untoward. But we all know on bid day what it's like, and I have been in a contractor's office on bid day, and I see what goes on. And they're doing their best. They're fighting for the work. And so they will cut corners wherever they can to make sure that they can come in appropriately. And the real issue is they're not incentivized to take a hard look at the plans. And you have to be careful because you don't want to get into pre-construction services. So where's that line with appropriate value engineering and pre-construction services? But they are not incentivized to come in and say, hey, you know what, I just did this other project and there's a great way to do it, or under my approach with lease-leaseback, I'm going to take a higher price from a subcontractor because they can get in, they can get the work faster. This is a long lead item, and I can trust this subcontractor. There's more flexibility in the overall collaborative process.
Thank you very much. That helps a lot, especially with all the different court cases going on. It's been confusing, to say the least.
Sure,
So,
sure.
It's like having attorneys come. Not be the only one.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. Anything further for your report?
No.
Okay. Item B, quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints.
There are no complaints.
Any questions from the board? Item C, district maintenance and operations report. Mr. LeGrand.
Jimmy, you're missing something.
I know, I'm sorry, it's been one of those days. I went it off, and yeah, I know. I feel underdressed. Like, I did have a t-shirt on, I did change my shirt, but yes, I had it in the car. Thank you for pointing it out. So, sorry I'm late, I was locking up Bethany, the Wi-Fi people were there working. So, school starts 3 weeks from tomorrow. We're doing a good job clean-wise. We have some big projects to tackle at the high school. We're tackling the small gym tomorrow, big gym next week, and all the concrete hallways. That'll take all of next week to get all that done. Maintenance supplies, we're out striping parking lots, we're out pressure washing playgrounds, getting those ready to go. Some of the site administrators have come back. We have a few little requests here and there. We'll try and get as much of those done as possible. But all in all, it's been a real successful summer. We have a lot going on, but we still have a lot of work to do and kind of on tilt at the moment, trying to get everything ready for the next 3 weeks or so. So that's pretty much all I have to report. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
This kind of came up in the safety committee, but cameras at different campuses, is that something that you guys are looking at?
Do you want me to talk about that? Okay. The district evidently had a grant for $10,000. It was in 2014 or 15. It was, yeah, right?
January 2015.
Right. So, and we didn't use it. It was $10,000. The district didn't use it. We had a year to use it. We didn't use it for some reason before I got here. And now we're exploring that option again.
We can revisit and reapply.
So the only cameras I've had requests for, district cameras, is Altamont. I haven't heard any requests from the site administrators. If you know everything, please let me know.
Is Bethany back up? I know it was.
I have not heard anything other than Altamont. So they have sometimes they have some issues out at the track on the weekends and playground stuff. So That's the only site that's come to me about cameras.
Haven't we wanted to talk about cameras at the high school track to try to get the folks jumping the fences and stuff like that to stop? Just as a curiosity, I don't know if that's something that the principal wants to talk about, but
So
not tonight, but just something to consider. I know.
At the safety committee, if you have issues, that's something we could definitely talk about. I could explore companies. I don't know if we have a company we work with or enhancing systems we have. I know some schools may not have cameras at all. So
Let's put it on the radar for the safety committee. And bring it back to
Okay.
the board. Thank
Sure.
you very much.
I would just like to say thank you to Mr. Legrand for all his work with the facilities use and working with the various entities in and around Mountain House to make everything run smoothly as far as divvying up the limited resources that we have available. And
thank you.
I
That was,
appreciate it.
there's quite a number of groups. And I think we've made everyone pretty much happy so far, knock on wood.
At least close to happy, huh?
As close to happy as they're going to get, yeah. Thank you.
Most folks think that the schools and the school site shut down for the summer. There's an exception, and that's Jimmy and his staff. They work all summer long to make sure when we come back in 3 weeks, everybody's ready to go. So I'm going to echo Mr. Pombo. The work you did on the facilities committee has been fantastic in working with the community, which is above and beyond taking care of our facilities. But
So,
I
thank you.
appreciate you.
My hat's off to the custodial staff. They really all did a really good job this year. Schools are already ahead of schedule. They're clean. They look good. So my hat's off to all of them.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Action items, item A, consider approval of the 2016-17 inter-district transfer requests.
Move to approve the 2016-2017 inter-district transfer request.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of the 2016-17 consolidated application for funding. Staff report?
This is just a formal explanation of our use of our title fundings, which is federal dollars to support high poverty students, English learners, and the like.
Those huge dollars.
I'll move for approval of the 16-17 consolidated application for funding.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider approval of construction pre-qualification questionnaire and score sheet. Staff report?
Attorney Diepenbrock and Trustee Nielsen kind of explained this, but this is just a process to follow the information that was presented earlier for subcontractors to support the building of our high school, or finishing of our high school.
Who looks at this once it's filled out?
I'm going to ask Mr. King to come up and explain the
Because
depths, the inner workings of
A company could
bureaucracy.
fill it out, I could read it, I don't know what I'm reading.
It's a yet-to-be-determined committee of
Okay.
district staff and myself that will review them and report back.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know how that worked.
Move to approve the construction pre-qualification questionnaire and score sheet.
Second?
Further discussion?
Forget what it was. Oh, well. I don't remember. It's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 161701, certifying to the Board of Supervisors of San Joaquin County all proceedings in the June 7th, 2016 general obligation bond election. Staff report?
This is a formal approval by the board of the results of our election. I do want to point out that the performance of the voters in the affirmative actually went up. And so the final tally is 62.07% affirmative, meaning yes. So we polled at 63% and we won at just under that. So congratulations to the whole community and all the people that put in the hard work.
Move to approve Governing Board Resolution number 16-17-01, certifying to the Board of Supervisors of San Joaquin County all proceedings in the June 7, 2016 general obligation bond election.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call.
Matthew Balzerini.
Aye.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Sharon Lamphill.
Aye.
Shane Nielsen.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye.
Can I just make a comment? I just wanted to make a comment on that real quick. I want to thank the community for entrusting us. By no means does this mean we're done with the information we'll be giving to the public. I look forward to creating the committee that'll be helping with the oversight of the bond, but I just wanted to thank the community for recognizing the needs of the district and trusting us to get this stuff done and I believe we're going to build fantastic facilities with this money, and I can't wait to see these things open. So thank you.
Mr. President, if I could add one more small piece of information. With the formal approval of the board for this certification, a 60-day window has begun in terms of forming a Citizens Oversight Committee. So there, at the next board meeting, there will be a formal presentation and significant community outreach from there to give people an opportunity who want to participate to have that opportunity.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, consider approval of the 2016-17 licensed vocational nurse services contract. There are two. The first is LVN ProCare One Nursing, and the second is LVN Staff Rehab. Staff report?
Ultimately, we're just not quite big enough to be able to hire these positions full-time. So as we transition from small to middle-sized district, we still have to hire out, and these are two examples of that.
Any board discussion?
I'll just say, doing this on the other end, you got good prices.
Yeah, those are pretty good prices, really.
So I'll move for approval of the 2016-17 licensed vocational nurse service contracts, two contracts, one with LVN ProCare One Nursing and the other with LVN Staff Rehab.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval of the Mountain House High School overnight field trip request for varsity wrestlers to Reno, Nevada. Staff report?
Only that this is, we have a common practice in the district that we have a pretty good procedure around with overnights, with chaperones being identified in the report and the board packet and the like, but this is just an example. Wrestlers practice harder than anyone I've ever seen, and they do a lot of traveling and tournaments all over the place, so this is probably something we'll see over the years.
Any board discussion?
I did have a question. On page 75, it says, this is varsity only. JV will be on Christmas break, but this is on Christmas break, so that confused me.
Well, it's often the case that varsity tournaments happen separate from the JV team. So I think that reference, I would have to double check, but it's
doesn't
simply
really
a matter
matter
of
for
the
the
varsity
approval of
boys are
this.
going, or the varsity team is going, and the JVs will be staying home.
Okay. So there's a mistake on the form.
I move we approve the Mountain House High School overnight field trip request for varsity wrestlers to Reno, Nevada.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider approval of revised unrepresented classified job description for occupational therapist. Staff report.
This is just a simple correction. We had set up this job description as a certificated position and then discovered that it needed to be classified, so this is correcting the record.
Any board discussion?
I just wanted to add that as someone who has family members with experience in this field, this is actually a fairly competitive wage and benefit position within the district when you consider it's a 200-day work year. The actually thought my wife is as a occupational therapist who sees students. I made sure she got the forms because she is one of the few occupational therapists in the area who actually take in students while they're going through the occupational therapy program to help certify them. So I'm hoping we can find some qualified candidates because it is a fairly competitive salary. So, and with that, I'll move we approve the revised unrepresented classified job description for occupational therapist.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And no, my wife will not be applying for the position.
Motion carries.
I promise.
Item H, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 161702, declaring intention to reimburse expenditures from the proceeds of general obligation bonds. Staff report.
This resolution will allow us to take some of the work that we're doing now and the costs that we're incurring and pay for it with bond proceeds as the bonds get sold.
Any board discussion?
I'll move for approval of Board Resolution 161702, declaring intention to reimburse expenditures from the proceeds of general obligation bonds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call.
Matthew Balzerini.
Aye.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Sharon Lampel.
Aye.
Shane Nielsen.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye.
And as an example,
Item I, consider approval of Robert Burns additional site work for Mountain House High School's tennis court.
So a couple of months ago, the board approved doing some work and land prep for the tennis court area. That work was completed. Part of that work was putting in lime treatment. I want to say that. Is that the right term?
Yeah,
I don't know where that went.
is.
It completely left me. Mr. King is going to come up and make sure that I don't get anything screwed up here. So I'm going to see how I'm doing. So with that, the work was done early. We need to protect the lime treatment, and this would allow us to put gravel on the top of it, would kind of entomb it, and make sure that the lime treatment does what it's supposed to do. Mr. King, did you have anything you wanted to add to my presentation?
Just as strange as it sounds, if you don't cover the lime treatment, it will crack and you'll have to redo it. So over the past weeks, while we had the 1 month where there's only one board meeting, we've had Jimmy watering the ground every day, so just to keep it from cracking. So the gravel will basically, as Kirk said, encapsulate it, protect it, and we're just basically asking you to move those funds from what would have been in the future construction contract for finishing the high school into this contract to get that protection in place now.
And that gravel will remain in place under the,
Correct. The tennis courts eventually will have 12 inches, and so we're just putting the first 6 inches now to protect that.
and then the other 6 inches along with the surface will go on.
Correct.
Thank you.
I move we approve Robert Burns additional site work for Mountain House High School tennis courts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody wants to talk tonight.
Motion carries.
It's a weird one.
Information discussion items, item A, bridge loan.
Yeah, so I wanted to report back. We're moving forward with the prep work to secure a bridge loan, which will allow us in the most timely manner and most expeditious manner to move forward and begin work on completing our high school Phase 3, or Build 3, which is technically Phase 4 of our construction needs. So I wanted to give Alvina a chance to talk a little bit about the part that she's playing. There's two heads to this. One is the money side. The other part is the county oversight side. We've already communicated with the county superintendent of schools, the CBO, and his team, but a lot of work behind the scenes has been going forward, so we wanted to report back how that's going.
Right, I've been working with Capital Public Finance Group to get the non-voter approved documentation put together. It's required to be to the county office 30 days before it comes forward for board approval, which would be August 20th, so we were required to get it to them by Monday, the 17th, which they have. We have a conference call with the county office tomorrow to discuss the items that we've brought forward.
Any questions? Thank you.
So the final piece is that our number one priority is to take the money that the community has entrusted our district through this bond election and in a timely manner begin projects that we can spend the money on the buildings for the kids and not spend it towards additional costs that come with delays or escalation of prices. So we believe that we will be able to finish this process in a way after board approval and all the stuff we have to do, but we think in the fall there will be shovels and large Tonka toys out moving dirt and making buildings happen at our high school, I would say the first part of September.
Very good. Calendar, take note, Wednesday, August 3rd is our next regular board meeting, and Thursday, August 11th, first instructional day of the 16-17 school year.
Already.
Where did 2016 go?
I know.
It went.
In a moment, we're going to adjourn a closed session. We're going to be discussing item A, public employee discipline dismissal release complaint. Item B, public employee appointment, employment evaluation superintendent. Item C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. There's one case. Item D, conference with legal counsel, one case of pending litigation. And item E, conference with real property negotiators, elementary and Mountain House High School sites, agency negotiators, superintendent, negotiating parties, Lammersville Unified School District, Trimark, Mountain House developers, under negotiations, terms of school facilities mitigation agreement and bond refinancing. With that,
I move you adjourn to closed session.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We're now in closed session. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone who attended this evening.